This is a little different, but we're going to have some fun. We're having some fun anyway. I hope, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to try to slow down so everyone can hear me, even though you can't see that gap tooth smile that you typically see in the morning. So thank you all for being here. We have some special guests. We have some prizes. We have everyone watching us from their schools or their homes, wherever they are. Welcome, welcome, and welcome back. We have our Board of Education President, Rob Ainsley, is in the house. Rob has never missed a convocation, so thank you, Rob, for being here. We have our friends from, oh yeah. Our friends from IPEI are going to come up in a minute with a special recognition that we've come accustomed to hearing about on the first day. And we have some folks who are new to us. All folks who are new to the Ithaca City School District, wherever you are, however you're accessing this, welcome and congratulations. We are loving having you here. Welcome. And I think you're new too. Come on, stand up. Yeah. That's how we do it. So wherever you are, I hope you're standing up and we're giving everyone a round of applause. Welcome to our school district. Also, some service awards. We have folks who've been in our school district now for 25 years. Now, typically they will come up and we will hand them nice little plaques. Your plaques are in the mail and they will get to you, trust me. And if you don't get it, give me an email and I'll bring it to you and drop it off at your front porch. But the 25-year folks, here you go. Allison, Karen, Barbara, Mark, Carl, Kathy, Marilyn, John, Teresa, and Fee Nunn. Congratulations. 20. Mr. Fee has been here 25 years. Also, we have some 30-year service awards that will be coming out. Welcome and congratulations to Debbie, Patience, Matthew, Bob, Vivian, Paula, Daniel, Roger, Michelle, Melanie, Diana, Stephanie, Jane, Martha, Susan, and Lana. Wherever you are, congratulations. Oh, man. We do miss embarrassing you in the room with 1,500 people, but we're embarrassing you virtually today. All right. We have some 35-year service awards this year. 35 years in the Ithaca City School District. Congratulations, Suzanne and Angela Jordan. Angela Jordan. Where's Angela? We love you. Angela has kept this place running for a long time, and our finances in check. All right, y'all, it's rare. Now, this is my 11th convocation, and it's rare. I think only on one other time have we had a 40-year service. 40 years in the Ithaca City School District. Congratulations to two folks this year, Karen and Jim Scarpula. They are around. Congratulations. When you see them, please give them a virtual fist bump and say congratulations for being here 40 years. All right, we're going to move it along. We have Steve Manley from IPEI here with a special recognition. Come on up, Steve.
Thank you to Dr. Brown, to the members of the Board of Education, teachers, staff, and leaders of the Ithaca City School District. The Jewish prophet Micah urged his people, "You know what is required of you, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." 2020 has been a year requiring us all to walk humbly as we face new challenges almost daily. As teachers, staff, and school leaders, you are on the front lines, working with our students and our families, following your traditions, putting others first, showing mercy. You are meeting the challenge of Micah 2,700 years later. I am in awe of you and honored to speak to you wherever you are. My name is Steve Manley. I am the Executive Director of the Ithaca Public Education Initiative, or IPEI. On behalf of my board, our staff, our volunteers, our affiliate organizations, the Fine Arts Booster Group, and Ithaca STEM Advocates, I share their excitement. We stand by you and we support the work you are doing to reopen our schools in love with the goal of standing as exemplars of schools that are themselves anti-racist institutions. For some background, IPEI raises funds within the community and makes them available to you in the form of grants. Information about our various grant types and their deadlines can be found at ipei.org, and feel free to email me at any time with any questions. During the 2019-20 school year, IPEI made $50,000 in funding available to fund various projects and programs in every school across the district. And in the spring, we moved quickly to support your needs as teachers and leaders with our situational grants program as you changed to distance education. If you have a great idea, we have volunteers ready to help you with your application and look forward to making your ideas a reality for our students. Today, I'm grateful to stand here and recognize an excellent teacher of science within the district. Typically, I would hand the presentation to Dr. Jamie Lair, but he was unable to join us today. He would like me to introduce this award, the Raymond C. Lair Award, by saying the following. The Raymond C. Lair Innovative Science Teaching Award was established by the Lair family to honor the life and teaching career of Raymond Lair on the occasion of his 70th birthday. Annually, the Ithaca City School District looks across the entire district for teachers who do the following: create innovative science opportunities, increase inclusion for all students in science and STEM learning, who construct sustainable programs and routinely share their successes outside of one classroom or one school. Stephen and Jamie Lair, who present this award annually to a student and a teacher, always pause here and reflect that while the award is named for their father, it was also their mother who stayed home, raised 7 children, and then returned to school herself, who provided another model of educational leadership and of what it means to have adults in our lives. I'd like to invite Caitlin Bram to join me here to talk briefly about this year's recipient.
Thank you, Stephen. I've known this year's recipient for many years. I've had the privilege of seeing him interact with kids as a parent, a teacher, a colleague, and a community member. What strikes me the most about this honoree is that he understands the innate curiosity of children, and he connects with them through the love of figuring out what makes the world tick. These experiences are sometimes highly orchestrated and sometimes very simple. Each one achieves pure engagement, energy for learning, and joy. 2 quick stories. I was once with a student who was struggling to regulate their emotions. We were taking a walk through the hallway at school and ran into this teacher. He casually asked me and this child to just hang on a minute. He went and got a few materials from his classroom, and before I knew it, had the student busily electro-etching their name into a piece of tinfoil. Another time, this teacher asked a gymnasium full of students and caregivers how to get an entire classroom of kids to stand on the inside of a piece of paper. Kids went wild, experimenting with their ideas all week, and learned the fundamental concept of the relationship between surface area and volume. The outcomes of both of these stories rested on more than this teacher's understanding of science or his pedagogy. They rested on an unwavering commitment to making connections with young people through the joy of discovery. This is the best science. Science that creates and deepens the connections we have to the world and to each other.
In recognition of their work with the students of the Ithaca City School District, on the behalf of IPEI and in honor of Raymond Lair, I am proud to honor Chris Bell with this year's Raymond C. Lair Innovative Science Teaching Award for 2020.
Thank you. Last week, Kaylin sent me a text asking if I would attend this in-person convocation with her. I replied that I would think about it, and on Thursday she checked back in with me and I told her I had planned to watch it remotely with some popcorn. She politely tried to persuade me, and I explained how I had already purchased the popcorn. She knew I had to be present. I didn't realize why. I started to get a certain vibe from her, and I noticed a certain look on her face as she said, well, you know, it's an opportunity to recognize people interested in science. So I didn't make putting two and two together easy on her, but I finally understood. And so that's why I have something prepared ahead of time. And it is a front and back only because it's 80 font, so I can see it. So thank you, Caitlin, for your nomination and for the support you've provided over these last 3 years. And to IPEI and the Lair family, it's really, truly an honor. Enough thank yous cannot be uttered for all that IPEI has done for education in Ithaca, but I'll add mine to the chorus, so thank you. And also to the Lair family, thank you to them for establishing such a generous award. It's really just so kind of them to do that, so it's really appreciated. I feel really lucky to have been connected with certain people over the years to foster my enjoyment and love of science. I'm not a science teacher. I'm a fifth grade teacher who loves science. I just love learning about the world. And I do want to recognize a few people whose coattails are responsible for me being up on this stage. And they've helped me be part of the Ithaca Physics Bus and the Free Science Workshop that's now open. About 6 years ago, Eric Herman, Claire Fox, and Eva Romero and I started the Ithaca Physics Bus, and 3 years ago we opened the Free Science Workshop. And it was definitely a team effort, but I want to just get out there that Eric and Claire did all the heavy lifting, and these entities would not exist without them. And I wouldn't be the person I am without them. My view of science and the bus and the workshop is to endeavor to basically do one thing, spark joy in children. If they walk away thinking that what they experienced has the word science connected to it, great. But more importantly, we want to provide opportunities for kids to see the beauty of the physical world around them, where they become confident in knowing that they can play a role in understanding the world more fully, and where they can generate that beauty for themselves and for others. So again, thank you, Caitlin, IPEI, and the Lair family. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, congratulations, Chris. Thank you, Steve, and IPEI, and all of our friends who made that special recognition possible. So now we'll transition. This is typically the time when we have that State of the District address. Last year, if you remember, we changed it to Journey Updates because we're going to be updating about where we are as an organization and a community on this journey that we're on. Now, I got to tell you, I'm nervous. I've never done this in a room like this before with a mask on. We're all new, raw, beta form educators. We're learning how to do this all over again. I got to tell you, typically when I'm standing in this room for convocation, yeah, Rob is always in that seat. That's cool. Jason Trumbull typically sits there. But the best part about convocation is having 80 bus drivers in those back rows. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And I just want to say thank you to our bus drivers, wherever you are. Any bus drivers here today? Our bus drivers. The thing about this pandemic is the real heroes have emerged. Our bus drivers are heroes. They were out delivering meals, making sure they were connecting with families. Our school district, our community would not have worked without the heroes we call bus drivers, who do this work every day, by the way, and continue to do it when many of us were afraid to come out of the house. Thank you, bus drivers. And thank you to the folks who are here today, who chose to be in person. I really appreciate you. Thanks to the folks who chose to work this summer in the Farm to Table Project Innovation Program, the only program in Central and Upstate New York that was an in-person experience, and we needed it. Young people needed you this summer, and you stepped up and did it. That picture that was on the screen to start the convocation was a culminating activity for the young people and the adults who worked, and they were creating love. You can go to the Ithaca Children's Garden and see their loving display on display. So thank you to all the folks who worked this summer to make our community work and to meet the needs of young people. Let's see, journey updates. Last year we transitioned from State of the District to an update on our journey. And in a minute we're going to talk about that academic versus authentic journey yet again. But that really was to push, 3 years ago, and I went back last night and looked at every one of our convocations, and I've learned that I look a whole lot older today than I did back in 2010. Two, my slides are a little bit better. They were kind of fuzzy back then, too. But going back to 2012, we talked about this notion of what my data refers to as do goals versus be goals, and how they're both important, but as a great organization and community, we would really focus on who we be. And see, but do goals are important, too. And see, I got to tell folks, we've been doing a lot of stuff to prepare for this day and for the next couple of weeks and months. We are all living in an environment where things change every day now, well, every 15 or 20 minutes. The guidance we receive typically isn't very clear, and then it changes. The decisions we make today oftentimes needing to be reversed tomorrow. So this world we're living in, we're all in it. We've had to prepare for opening in a virtual environment. That's new for us. Thank you to all of the collaborations, the leaders of our collective bargaining units, the community. We've put together, last spring was an emergency situation. On a Friday night, March 13th, 2020, I had to make the hardest decision I've ever made in my life. We had to say we're going to close our school buildings. And on Monday, we were thinking about how we were going to educate young people. Folks stepped up. We did what we needed to do, but it was not our best work. It couldn't have been. We didn't have time to prepare for it. We've since had time to prepare for a better virtual experience. Now, it's an instructional model that we've been comfortable doing for a couple of centuries now. We've had to shift on a dime and do something very, very different. We still have work to do, but we are doing it, and we're going to be better when we start our virtual experiences for young people next week. And it's going to look good. We're going to have those schedules in place. We're going to be making connections. Our technologies are better than they were last spring. It's important for our community to know that it's going to be better. We have far to go to be perfect, but it's going to be better than where we were. That's what we've been doing. We've also been preparing our spaces. We've been preparing our spaces for welcoming back adults and young people. See, this was a place we needed to grow. Typically doing a State of the District address, it's my job to give an update on where the infrastructure of the organization is, our finances, our buildings. For the last 10 years, we've been challenged in both. There's been a couple of financial crises that we've had to deal with, including the one that we're in the midst of right now. Our buildings, we've gone through several capital project improvements and energy performance contract upgrades. Our board, our community's commitment has allowed for a school district with some very old buildings to see significant upgrades. We had to do even more in the midst of a global pandemic. I'm here to say to folks, we've purchased the PPE, the personal protection equipment. We've purchased new furniture to allow for physical distancing in the ways we need to have it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment to meet the needs of our adults and young people going forward. HVAC has been a challenge for us. In an organization with buildings this old, we have to always be looking at our HVAC systems. I'm here to tell you, man, trust me on this one. Our HVAC systems now are better than they've ever been before, period. And I know the challenges that we've had. I've had to endure them too. I've been on too many roofs. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Looking at stuff that is broken or not working. But now I'm telling you, we have, with the partnership of a third-party vendor, purchasing the filters we need, upgrading equipment, making the corrections. Our organization has spent over $1.2 million on preparing to welcome young people and adults back into our space. If there are questions out there about what we've done, give us a call. Tune into a board meeting. If there are questions about whether or not we're ready or not, talk to the experts if you don't want to talk to us. Talk to the folks who look at this stuff for a living, and they will tell you that our spaces are ready to be open again. We've had to do that. That's a do goal. We knew back in March that what our community did and what we would do would determine whether or not we could bring young people back at some point in this school year. And then there was a board meeting last week, and I hope you've been paying attention to these virtual board meetings, and soon to be in person. Last week, 2 weeks ago now, we had Dr. Snedeker, an internationally renowned pediatrician who lives here locally. Many of you know. And he came and he talked about where we are with reopening schools. And he said some things, and I'm pulling from his quotes here. He said some things that stuck with us all. Quite frankly, if you go back and watch the meeting, you'll watch the expressions of the board members and myself when he said these things. He said things like, anyone who thinks that 3 or 6 months from now we're going to be in a much better situation, they better rethink their position. I don't want to say the new normal because that's been said too many times, or unprecedented situation, but we're going to have to learn how to live and navigate in this current environment for a while. The folks I trust, the folks who are looking at the data, the folks who inform how we take care of young people are saying we're in this space for a while. And they're saying that, if we can't open now, then we need to plan to, don't want to misquote him, but I'm going to say, he pretty much said, if we can't open now, we may not be opening for young people and adults for 2 to 3 years? What's got us all thinking? With our data the way it is right now, yes, we are in Tompkins County. We've done an amazing job of mitigating the risk. They're still there. We're working on it every single day. We know about the mobility and transition that's taking place in our community, and that's bothersome to all of us. But if looking at the data right now, it's good. That could change at any point. We know that, particularly after a holiday weekend, which has been a trend here in our community. So we know that. I'm here to say to y'all, we will be monitoring the data. If the data is good, we will be moving towards, and as we've said, October the 5th, an in-person experience. Now, we know many of our families have chosen virtual experiences. Many of our families have chosen to be in person. And, with the ratios, with the numbers, how they played out, we have around 60+% of our families wishing to be in person and others choosing to be virtual. And, we were a part of attempting to do something very unique in giving choice to teachers. I think we were the only school district in the country to go about it in the ways in which we were going about it because we wanted to honor voice and choice. With the numbers that came back, the data that came back, about 30% of our teachers wanted to come back in person, and the others wished to stay in a virtual environment. I don't think I'm shocking anyone. Those numbers don't match up, y'all. And I'm saying, as an instructional leader of the community, that's not going to work for a community that needs to engage young people at some point in person. Now it's going to be up to us to figure out how we negotiate that. What we do. Because what we know and what we've said and what we've committed to is we're going to meet the needs of our learners. And if learners to be in person, if that requires us to have different conversations about the way in which we staff, we must do that. I hope I'm being absolutely clear on that. And that may require me to do what I've done often over the last 6 months, reverse a decision when there's new information, or have a conversation about what we need to do differently because things have changed. But what I'm saying, and I'm hoping that every person in this organization, the folks in person, the folks watching, we will meet the needs of our learners. And that will, most times, as it always does, require adults to be uncomfortable and to struggle. And we will do this in a very loving, safe, and effective and efficient way, if our data reveals that we can. Everybody follow me? I just want to be absolutely clear about that, because that's something we got to do. We got to meet the needs of our learners, period. And at the same time, create and cultivate an environment that's safe for everyone. But see, those quotes have pushed me, because what I'm also thinking, as right now the reopened ICSD team is grappling with several different scenarios. One, what would it look like if we are a virtual school district all year? Just think about that. if our data shifts in the wrong direction, or if we can't navigate our staffing challenges, we're a virtual school district. That is not at the core of what we do. Should it be an option for young people and families? Yes, it should be, and probably will always be. But we are in no way a virtual school district. A virtual school district is staffed differently. A virtual school district educates differently. Now, should it be an option? Yes, but that's not what we're going to do. Another option would be looking at some type of a hybrid approach. Having young people come on some days, not on others. Maybe at the elementary level, we have an A-day, B-day schedule, and at the secondary level, we stay virtual. Again, another scenario that's not best for our young people or our community, but it's something that we need to talk about, what it will look like. As we're talking about what this will look like over the next 3 years, knowing that our data will fluctuate. And one of those options looks like the one that we are proposing for October the 5th, where we're opening up for the families who chose to be in person, and we're opening up a virtual school district in many ways for those who've chosen to be virtual at this time as well. Now, that one's going to present some significant challenges as far as staffing that we must talk about. So those are options that the ICSD Reopen team are grappling with right now. We all need to grapple with. But as we talk about do goals, we're going to do that. I'm stressing that we focus on who we be at the same time. And it's going to be important because the decisions and the ways in which we go about our work today, how we do it today, will have impact on this organization and community for the next couple of decades, long after I'm gone. You see, B, this is what we talked about last year. This was a slide from last year, and we talked about us being on not being on an academic journey, but an authentic one. And we talked about the academic journey, looking like us having conferences about inclusion, equity, diversity. We're an international leader when it comes to that. Us sharing out books, articles, hosting book studies, good stuff. We need to do it. Having conversations about the names of holidays and where I'm from, statues. See, as my daddy said to me, changing the name of statues and changing the names of teams is good stuff, but it's not going to change who you be. Trust me, my family is really happy about Aunt Jemima not being on the syrup bottle anymore. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And we're very happy about the Washington Redskins finally changing that name. That has been offensive for a long time, growing up as a Redskin fan. But as my daddy said, that ain't going to change everything. See, the academic journey is important. See, we talked about access to technology. As a school district, we were getting vilified, Bob, when we were putting devices in the hands of kids not long ago. There were school districts who were saying you can't send devices home with young people because they're not going to be able to take care of them. And now we can't get them out there fast enough. Access to meals in a country that has lunch-shamed young people for decades, or decided who can eat and when they can eat and what they will eat based on how much money is in their account. See, as we look to change and shift that kind of thinking, that's an academic conversation, one we should all be having. But the authentic one, the one that we're on, is a bit different. The authentic one looks like us having an organization in a school district that's a laboratory for social change. We're hearing what's happening all over the country. That changes in our classrooms first. We help our young people, we give our young people a voice and choice. We cultivate these agents for social change. The authentic journey looks like real instructional shifts, and we're seeing that now, y'all. Culturally responsive teaching practices, inclusion, work that was happening in pockets in some schools, in some classrooms, in some school districts, now needs to happen for everyone. You see, this authentic journey looks like policy change, policy and practice. See, we defined policy last year. Yes, it's the Board of Education Policy Manual, but more importantly, it's your code of conduct, it's your student handbooks, it's the policies and practices, it's the practices and behaviors that guide your everyday interactions with young people and adults. See, the authentic journey is going to cause us a struggle. You see, and then there's this one. This is coming from our ICSD Reopen plan, where we have committed to being an anti-racist organization. Now, every school district, every organization in the country is using that term now. And what I'm learning is that there's either an academic conversation about it or an authentic one. The academic one is, let me write up an anti-racist statement and put it on my website. See, folks have been good at doing that. But what we're doing here What we're going to do here and what we've been doing here is we're going to go after this in an authentic way. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. See, that authentic journey looks like struggle, not just being uncomfortable. See, this authentic journey looks like us having real self-reflective conversations about who we are first. See, and the folks at home, the folks in the room, the folks who are going to watch this and probably get mad at me later, just reflect on these words here and these characteristics. And what I will present to you is that these are the characteristics that dominate most organizations, if not all, particularly school districts. I have become comfortable, quite frankly, successful, and default to perpetuating these characteristics. You don't become superintendent unless you do this well. You see, perfectionism, being perfect, demanding perfection, the sense of urgency, I want a decision right now, objectivity, there's, taking the emotions out of it, the love out of it, but having a linear approach to decisions. Individualism, that's why we grade. That's why we have the competitive culture that we have here in our community. Paternalism, it's very clear who has the power and who doesn't. See, today is not an education session on these characteristics, but I just want you to, today and for the next few weeks and months and years, just reflect on how these characteristics play out in your daily lives and how they play out in this organization and every organization that you've ever worked in. Now, what I'm going to do next, this is nonpartisan, but I'm just going to share with you, this is not new. This is from the research. These folks wrote this article back in 2001 about the characteristics of white supremacy culture. Now, typically when I share this, people shut down, they get upset, and they leave the room. That's why I didn't start by calling it white supremacy culture. And why typically I just say supremacy culture. But it is a fact that this is a culture, and this is a culture that dominates institutions, particularly school districts. One can argue, one has argued, that, this is why school districts have become great. I would respond with, you may be right, but great for who? See, if we're going to truly be an anti-racist organization and think about who we be in the midst of these significant challenges and where we have to do a lot of stuff, we need to reflect on what we've been doing and what we should be using as an antidote at times when we know that we've been oppressive. I've shared this slide for the last 7 years now. And I'm hoping each time we talk about this culture of love, it has deeper meaning for you, particularly as we talk about a culture of love is not a love fest. This is hard. And this is not natural. And I'm here to tell you that all of us struggle with loving each day because, quite frankly, we're more comfortable in the characteristics I shared with you before. And as I share with my admin team, as we reflect on what we should be, we can think about using those characteristics as antidotes to that culture that we say and we know is oppressive. Now, this is busy. I'll share the slide out with folks. But I've done a crosswalk. As I think about perfectionism, and we're all perfectionists right now. Distance learning has to be perfect. We can't start back until everything is right. And the antidote to that is patience. The sense of urgency, patience. Defensiveness. As educators, we are risk averse. Typically, we can't get to the hard conversations because we're afraid that someone's going to be upset. The antidote to that is trust. That we're assuming the best intentions. See, I could go through all of these. Think about, in your daily work, how those characteristics of an organization that has traditionally been oppressive can be addressed using a culture of love. And then I'm going to share with you this last one. Again, I started with I'm nervous, I'm in a different place. It's hard. I called my pops, my dad, for the first time in 60 years. He's in that house all by himself. And I called him this morning. I was like, Daddy, I'm tired. People are unhappy. I got to do a convocation with a mask on. We won't see kids this week. And he said, ain't no time to be tired. See, our leadership is needed now more than ever. On that, and he reminded me that the last thing my mama said to me was go get on that road. You see, she wasn't telling me to leave. She was telling me to stay on the authentic journey and don't go back and default to the academic one. We were together, my daddy, my brother, my two brothers. Three black men together for the first time in a long time in my house with my daddy, trying to comfort him, who's done nothing but comfort us. And for the first time, and I hope you know that image to the top left is Ahmaud Arbery. That image to the bottom, you probably are having a tough time making it out, but it's an image that sticks with me. And see, for the first time that day, we were together in my mama's house, struggling. The video of that murder came on the TV. And see, for myself, my brothers, it's been hard for us to watch all the Facebook videos showing black men getting murdered. You see, it's traumatic. It brings up trauma that we've all experienced. I don't know of a black man who hasn't had an experience with gunpoint. And all of my brothers have had it, and myself. But so we haven't been able to watch these videos and images. But on this particular day, this came on TV, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. And we're sitting there, and Shiraki Holly stood on this stage, and he said to us all, the difference between a racist and a non-racist is your first thought is different from your second thought. Everybody remember that? On this particular day, when this video came on, my older brother, Robbie, and Rovell was sitting there, and myself, we all had the same first thought. Our first thought was, why is he running? Why is he running? See, growing up where we grew up, in that country, Central Virginia, dirt road where we grew up on, we just didn't see many brothers running. Y'all know what I'm talking about, Jason? I've said this to you. It wasn't part of our culture to run long distance. We would play basketball together. We would be together. To go out and run was just something. My first thought was a biased and racist one, y'all. But what struck me was that our second thought, and we all had the same second thought too, was just as racist as our first. Our second thought was, first was, why is he running? The second thought was, why is he out there by himself? See, we have been taught since we were babies, you don't go out on those country dirt roads by yourself as a brother. My grandfather died because of this, because he looked a white person in the eye and he was on the road by himself. You just don't do it. So our first thought and second thought were both very racist and biased thoughts. And it took my pops, this man in mourning, to look at us all and says, you haven't done anything to change what's happened on this damn road. Which brings me to this notion of racist versus anti-racist. We all are perpetuating racist practices unless we're actively being anti-racist. My daddy had to tell us in the midst of a significant crisis for us all that we were racist because we've done nothing to change the plight of black men on that road in which we've grown up on. And my brother and I, we're the only ones who survived it. We've now committed. My brother just held a voting rally last week. We're now putting some folks up to run for public office to change the policies and practices that have resulted in only 3 of us making it out alive. It took my daddy to remind us that we were racist and that we need to actively work to be anti-racist. And that's the challenge I'm putting in front of our team and our community. This is my 11th year here. And what I do know is that no superintendent who's engaged in this conversation has survived it. Typically, they find all kinds of reasons for you not to be there no more. They're making too much money. They're driving too fancy of a car. Or they create some other controversy. Just do a Google search on superintendents who talk about equity and anti-racism and see what happens. But I'm telling you right now, this authentic journey I'm on, that I promised my mom I would stay on, is where I'm going to be. And I know we have a lot to do, because I know each and every day I'm perpetuating an oppressive system. I lead one, and I make decisions, I form policies that typically are racist. And I'm committing to working to making those all anti-racist approaches, decisions, and policies. And and if we don't survive it, what I hope we've done, as my mama said to me, is inspired somebody to take my place when I'm gone. Now with that, we're going to transition to a family that hasn't been inspiring me. You see, this family here, this family right here, John, Elizabeth, Dr. John Clark is the Director of Occupational Health, Keegan Medical at Cornell. His wife is the Director of Nursing at Keegan Medical, I'm pretty sure. Their family, John Jr., is on my Superintendent Advisory Council. There's so many stories I can tell you about them. What I do know, they've been impacted by this pandemic significantly too. They lost family members because of this pandemic recently. That loss inspired them to write and to inspire others to do things differently or be diligent as we attempt to address this pandemic. Their music video has gone viral. If you haven't seen it, look it up. The Clark family music video on YouTube. But with that, I thought there could be no better way to have some folks who've inspired us all, inspire folks all over the world now, to inspire us and lead us off into the next school year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. John Clark. Welcome.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Brown and Samantha Little, for inviting us here to be part of this. Thank you all to the teachers, the staff, everyone who allows this to happen, meaning education of our children. We are very grateful, and as Dr. Brown said, you're heroes to come out. Now, for those of you in the front who may be nervous because I don't have on my mask, I did get tested, my son also, and we're negative for corona, so you don't have to worry about that. So as Dr. Brown mentioned, my wife, her parents died back in April from coronavirus. In fact, if you look at the Tompkins County Department of Health website, you'll see that there are only 2 deaths in Tompkins County, and those were my in-laws. We were able to have them medevac from New York City to Ithaca, but their case was far advanced, so they both died actually on the same day. So it's something that really hits home for us, the reality of coronavirus. Now, when we look at the news, we keep hearing about deaths, the amount of people that are dying. We also hear about the killings of black men and of black people. So what I would like to do is for us to focus on life and living. Focus on how we could, in the midst of this pandemic, live, right? So we do have recommendations. Wear your mask, practice social distancing. Only go out when you need to. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. I always say that, we've had pandemics before in 1918. If you want to get a sense of what this will result in, you could research that. But we all can make it to the end. So I urge everyone to think about that as you go back into school, back into work. And then Black Lives Matter. I'm so happy to hear Dr. Brown's approach about being authentic, because often the conversations on race, the conversations on racism, Black Lives Matter are difficult for many, and often we'll shy away from really getting into the details on how we can actually change the situation. So without further delay, my son and I, we're going to perform 2 songs and hit the music, John.
Dr. Clark,
Yeah.
treat that beat.
Dr. Clark in Chapter. Let's go.
Stop Corona, don't be a case. Be careful who gets in your personal space. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, or your face. Wash off the germs, do not leave a trace. Stop Corona, don't be a case. Be careful who gets in your personal space. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, or your face. Wash off the germs, do not leave a trace.
Stop Corona, that is the task. Wash your hands good, don't do it too fast. Count 20 seconds, front and the back. Under your nails, we under attack. Hand sanitizer works if you try. 60% alcohol, what you buy. dry. Rub it on good and let it dry. Letting it dry, corona will die. If you get sick, the question is why. Mucous membranes, let it inside. Goes in your mouth, your nose, and your eye. Don't touch your face, and now you know why. Yeah, it comes with a risk. Get it or spread it from something like this. Drawing out phones, a cup and a sip. Handshakes, a hug and a kiss. Feeling awful with shortness of breath. Fevers and coughing is all in your chest. Call the doctors, let them assess. Go to get checked or get a test. Or you might need to stay home and get rest. Stay in your house, you know it's a yes. Sanitize, clean off the mess. Clean off the handles, the phone, and the desk. If you sick or caught the disease, cut the transmission off at the knees. Don't let it spread, I caution you please. Use tissues and elbows to cough it to sneeze. Follow advice if you quarantine. Step out to public, be off the scene. Be a good neighbor, you know what I mean. Stop the spread of the COVID-19. Stop corona.
Don't be a case, be careful who gets in your personal space. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, or your face. Wash up the germs, do not leave a trace. Stop corona. Don't be a case, be careful who gets in your personal space. Don't touch your eyes, your nose, or your face. Wash up the germs, do not leave a trace.
Yes.
Dr. Clark, treat that.
JDC.
Look. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up and hop out. The racism in America really need to stop now. It's 2020 and JDC really need to talk now. I don't really rap on political stuff. Us as people, we had enough. You get away with so many things and I do not call it luck. It's a privilege. We stay fine like a village and look, it's just us. In America, we do not trust. Look, I'm a bust through, hit him with combos on Kung Fu. I hope the song does touch you. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just telling you how I feel. I am just keeping it real. Us people hold it down, you may as well call us steel. I'm cooking up like a grill. Racism going downhill. Some balls I had to spill. Seeing it makes me ill. Pass me some Advil. JDC going for the kill. Look, let's kill the hate instead of black lives. Open your eyes so nobody dies. Black lives matter, stop telling us lies. Black lives matter so we can survive. This country needs to be free and have equality like we're supposed to. Starting from now on, I want everyone to put aside being racist and think to yourself, how would I feel if someone was being racist towards me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. That's awesome. John and John Jr. right there, everybody. Have a wonderful school year, everyone. Thanks for coming. That's awesome. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Yeah.